Mm-mm. Okay. Okay, so testing. Okay. Hey guys, so this is violin practice number 3, and sorry for the delay. It was a little bit of a long day, and there was some technical difficulties, but I have some pretty cool stuff planned for today. And this is the third practice, which means that I want to pick up where I left off. I set a goal to work on chunk 3 and 4, and I I didn't practice in between these two sessions, so I did that on purpose. I want to make this as realistic as possible, and I have obviously other responsibilities. And so I know when we set some goals at the beginning, we think that it's going to be, we think of the end result, and we have a feeling about that end result, and we kind of like the idea. We fall in love with the idea of it. So we set out to do a million things, and then some projects fall on the back burner, and we kind of we don't necessarily follow through on what we say. Now, bringing it back to the violin here, I have a lot of things to do. I could practice this every day if I wanted to, but I think that the life gets in the way, and I kind of forced it to in this particular this between the last session and this one. So I thought it would be interesting to see what I get. I'm going to start off while I'm introducing this stuff. I'm going to just set up the bow just to save some time here. Still aiming to do 15 minutes. And as you can see, I added a whiteboard here. It's not just to cover up the hole in the curtain, it is also just to set the agenda for today. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with what we always do is we have a goal that we're going to set. So the first thing that I have planned is, the goal that I have planned is chunk 3 and 4. So I'm going to review 1 and 2 because that's what I did the last time. Reviewing is always, it's good to get it just back in your mind before you move forward. So take 1 step back and then move 2 steps forward. Now we have chunk 3 and 4 that we're going to work on, and I think one of the most important things that I did in between last session and today, I wanted to look up any resource that I can. So I want to use all my resources. In this case, YouTube was pretty helpful. I looked up some people playing Bittersweet Symphony, and it was very helpful in finding out how they play, just seeing where their hands move and things like that. The other thing is I bought some stickers. I went to the dollar store and I bought these stickers. As you can see here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stickers, and this is for the different locations. Since it's different than the guitar, I wanted to make it as much like the guitar as possible. So anytime you could use a skill that you already have to help a new skill, obviously you want to do that for time management and for accelerated learning. So I took the pack had 4 colors in it, and I debated whether or not to do the different chunks because there's 4 chunks. So I was juggling the idea of 4 chunks with 4 colors, and that would have been pretty cool. But there's some overlap with that, so that didn't really work. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the different stickers, the different colors on the different strings, since there are 4 strings. I weighed that out, and sometimes you're presented with that opportunity, and you have to kind of think of the big picture. If I'm going to learn how to play violin further than this challenge, then I'm going to want to put the strings, the stickers on the different strings. Okay, the shoulder mount is on here, and I'm going to just get to some practicing because I have to kind of shake off some of the rust from the last few days. Okay, so I hope that this isn't too loud. Going to just adjust the mic here, get into position. And as usual, I'm going to start off with the right hand and focus on the left hand fingerings because it's much more difficult. So I'm outweighing the difficulty. In this case, the right hand is very easy to go like this. The left hand is much more difficult to find the different locations. Okay, so I'm going to start with that on chunks 1 and 2. Oh, actually, I went a little bit forward there. I was getting a little bit excited with the stickers because the stickers makes this way easier. There's still a bit of a mountain to climb, but the stickers make it much easier. So I'm just going to do 1 and 2, and separated as well. So number 1. Okay, number 2. Number 1, number 2, number 1, number 2, and last time, number 1, number 2. See what I did there? I took the 2 different chunks and I left a gap in between. Very, very important. I don't want to set any pressure on myself in playing it musically because that creates a little bit of anxiety. There's a time limit. There's pressure that you're going to need to get this in this amount of time. I'm going to first want to just separate. I have chunk 1, space, chunk 2. Chunk 1, space, chunk 2. And what I can start doing as I get more comfortable is I actually shrink that space so they start to connect a little bit better. Chunk 1, chunk 2. Chunk 1, space, chunk 2. And then what starts to happen is more like chunk 1, chunk 2. Chunk 1, chunk 2. And then eventually chunk 1, chunk 2, chunk 1, chunk 2, without any space in between. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to do it without any space in between. Three times. Okay, and that feels pretty good. I'm going to continue, instead of adding the bow, I'm going to continue with the different chunks, chunk 3 and chunk 4. So I'm going to just isolate those ones. I saw on the YouTube video that the guy uses his pinky. Even though I was told not to use my pinky at the beginning because it's more difficult, I'm just going to give it a shot just to see what it's like. This is chunk 3, chunk 4. So I'm looking at similarities. I keep my index finger down, and it's anything to make it easier. So same thing, chunk, space, chunk, chunk, space, chunk. Okay. Again. Now also as this, it's been a few weeks now, I'm getting more comfortable with how it feels. on the fretboard here, well, not fretboard, sorry, on the fingerboard, and I'm getting more confident as well. So I'm kind of going for it a little bit more. And you'll notice that you'll do this with anything, again, with languages or with playing sports. There's something that you learn, and at first you're just a mess. You kind of you're thinking about it too much. You actually get worse before you get better. So definitely split it up. Don't do everything all in a row or up to speed right away. Jumping in the deep end is taking on too much, and you're going to think that you're not able to do this stuff. You'll get frustrated. Maybe you'll give up. Take a little bit at a time. Okay, so chunk 3 and chunk 4. I'm noticing as I'm using the shoulder mount more, I'm putting more pressure on my neck here. Like I'm holding it up with my neck. It's actually, I'm getting a better sound out of it. So I guess that's why people do this. Man, these stickers are making such a huge difference. Okay, next I'm going to take another concept, by the way, with the chunking is I can actually combine two to make one chunk. So maybe I'm going to now look at the 1 and 2 as one chunk and 3 and 4 as one chunk. So again, I'm going to take that same process. Chunk 1 and 2, space, chunk 3 and 4. Chunk 1 and 2, space, chunk 3 and 4. So I could treat it as now one monster chunk, if you want to call it. Okay, I don't know, it's kind of ridiculous. But here I'm going to do chunk 1 and 2. Okay, and then I'm going to go with the space, and then I go. Okay, then chunk 1 and 2. And then space 3 and 4. One more time. 3 and 4. Now I'm going to increase the difficulty, decrease the speed. I'm going to try playing the whole thing at a slow speed with a pulse. So it's going to sound like music. It's going to be connected. But because it's more difficult, I'm going to adjust the speed. Increase the difficulty, decrease the speed. Okay, now space, because now I'm making that one chunk, one big chunk. Okay, and I'm going to kind of fast forward here because I don't want to keep you guys for too long. I committed to 15 minutes, and I want to move on to another concept because you can see how that progresses. If I'm going to continue to practice for about 10 more minutes, and I'm going to feel more comfortable with those movements and those different finger placements. The next thing that I'm going to do is on the YouTube video. I noticed the pattern that this guy did with his bow. I don't know anything about bowing. It's kind of similar to picking, the same mechanics, but in that you do an upstroke at a certain time and a downstroke at another time. But I noticed he went up, down, up, down, up, down. This is a long one. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Then he went, this is weird, I don't know why he did it, but I'm going to try it. Up, up, down, up, down. Now, instead of practicing, because the bow is very difficult, instead of practicing with both hands, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take the bow and isolate it. The same way I did with the left hand, just making the right hand easier. I'm going to make the right hand easier now, and I'm going to just hold up the violin and do the rhythm. So it's going to go up, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, up, down, up, up, down. And I'm going to maybe try down here so there's less bounce. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Much better. Holy smokes. Wow. If I do that down there, I don't think there's going to be that much bounce. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. One more time. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Wow, I'm feeling pretty confident about that. The next thing that I would do from here, because as we're wrapping this up, I would combine the two. Since I'm working on two things now, you can see how it starts to increase the difficulty. So speed is going to be helpful, to have it at a slower speed. It's going to be helpful, but that's not always the solution to play slower. There's so many things your mind is processing at once. So I would say what the next thing to focus on would be is to go back to chunking. Chunk the bow up, down, up. That would be one. Down, up, down, down, up, down, and just go right back to square one. Remember, your fingers have a head start because you've practiced 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's got to be broken down again and then built back up. And this happens a lot with literally every skill. You break it back down, you build it back up, you break it back down, you build it back up, you add more information, break it back down, build it up. It's just constant breaking down and building up, because what you're doing is you're making you're familiarizing yourself with the information. I don't believe there's any such thing as easy or difficult. It's going to be familiar or unfamiliar. And if you're not familiar with it, it's going to seem very difficult because your mind has question marks in it. If you can't remember a word in a language, or if you can't remember even, I don't know, a certain move in a dance sequence, if you have to think about it, then you're not going to perform as good as you can. So peak performance comes from understanding it from different angles. So I'm going to practice up, up, and I'm going to do it without the left hand, and then I'm going to do it with the left hand, chunk one. I'm going to repeat the chunking process and really get that down. That I think is the goal for the rest of this practice session. And then for next time, what I'm going to work on, and this one kind of scares me a little bit, the hardest part so far about violin is the detail, the vibrato. You hear this sort of like, there's like a, I can't even do it. It's like a shake sort of sound, and it makes it sound really good. Anytime you hear a violin, a good violin player, you'll hear this vibrato. So that's the hardest part right now, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time doing that. Not too much though, because I want to do as much on camera as possible. So I'm going to leave that for next time. And if I can get that done, then I'll feel confident to play along with the track and accomplish this challenge. So if you guys have any questions, now's the time to ask. And as I said, if there are any questions after I post this, just in the comments below on Facebook and on YouTube, I'll get back to any comments or questions that you might have. So I'll just wait a second and see if there are any questions. And no, okay, so there aren't any questions. So I hope that helps. I think that one's really helpful on that just because you break something down and build it up doesn't mean you're finished. And just because you do something slowly doesn't mean it's going to be effective. So continue the process of chunking, combine the chunks when you're confident into bigger chunks, and then do the that thing with the gap, and then close the gap, and then just break it down again once you add new things. You're gonna do great. So I'm gonna continue to practice over here, and if you guys have any questions